Good evening. My name is Dawn Drew, and I'm about to present my Module 4 presentation on earthworms. This is Professor Heather Louch's class. For Module 4, I chose to do my experiment with the substrate. I used popcorn kernels as my substrate. The experiment was done to answer whether earthworms show differences in burrowing behavior into a substrate when presented with the treatment of popcorn and soil mixed with popcorn. The pictures in this slide show how the earthworms were set up to respond to different substrates and how it was investigated. If earthworms were going to burrow, it will usually happen within 180 seconds, 3 minutes in total. The first group was the control group, which contained soil and soil only. The second group was the substrate group, which contained popcorn kernels. And the third group was a mixture of the substrate and the mixed soil. Let's see, where am I? I then placed one earthworm in each of the environments. The control group average burrow time was 2 minutes and 31 seconds, with all the earthworms burrowing. The substrates group average burrow time was 105. However, not all worms burrowed. Due to this reason, the average time was much less than the controlled. The test conditions in this slide show the mixture of the substrate, which is popcorn, and the control, which is soil. I chose the substrate treatment because I had popcorn in my pantry. However, I was also curious to see how the earthworms would behave in this environment. The control for this experiment consists of dry soil with no substrate. All the earthworms burrowed in this treatment. 2 earthworms went beyond the 3-minute mark, as you can see in the graph, and the average time was 2 minutes and 31 seconds. The second treatment was the popcorn substrate. 3 earthworms did not burrow, and none went over the 3-minute mark. The average time for that was 105, as you can see in the graph. This was faster than the control since the no burrow worms were not considered in the average. The last treatment was a mixture of the soil and the substrate. 2 earthworms did not burrow, and only one went over the 3-minute mark. The average for this treatment was 1 minute and 59 seconds. And again, the reason why it's faster than the control is because the no burrow worms were not considered in the average. My hypothesis on the experiment for each treatment was not supported. For the control treatment, I hypothesized that all the earthworms would burrow. However, 2 took longer than the 3-minute mark. I did not factor in the timing with my hypothesis. For the popcorn substrate, I hypothesized that it would take the earthworms longer than the 3-minute mark to burrow. 3 of the earthworms did not burrow at all, and the others did burrow under the 3-minute mark. For the mixed treatment, I hypothesized that it would take the earthworms longer than the 3-minute mark to burrow. Only one earthworm took longer than the 3-minute mark, and 2 did not burrow at all. The rest burrowed under the 3 minutes. So based on all of my calculations and everything, my hypothesis was not supported. The results from the experiment that we conducted for class showed that the earthworms burrowed slower in the substrate and mixed soil than the control. My hypothesis on the results is that the earthworm was becoming acclimated to the new environment and needed more time. Also, since there was only one earthworm, the earthworm could not communicate or follow the lead of another earthworm. Hence, this leads to longer burrowing time. The result of the experiment conducted in the article for the substrate showed that the texture influenced the avoidance behavior of organic matter at all levels. There was no avoidance response for the coarse soil. However, it offered an overall avoidance of the fine soils. But when the earthworms faced contaminated coarse soil and uncontaminated fine soil, more worms were found in the contaminated coarse soil. My hypothesis on this finding would be that the earthworms prefer coarser soil even if it is contaminated. In conclusion, both experiments used different methods, but the findings were similar. Both experiments were conducted to find if earthworms behave or avoid soil base or substrate or contamination. The results from both studies indicate that earthworms prefer coarse soil, even if it is contaminated, and they will move slowly in this environment. Further studies are needed to determine if texture and organic matter override the earthworm avoidance of contaminated soils. This will be the only way to determine if earthworms are a reliable indicator of soil health in all soil types. Thank you.